All right, welcome back. We are now in part three, the audience breakdown method. Okay, so this one is spread into parts. And just to give you a little advance notice on this, the hardest part of this whole thing is nice because you only have to do it once. Once you get the hard part, which is really figuring out who your audience is in the first place, then this whole thing gets pretty easy. And yeah, it's not such a big deal. If you already sort of know who your audience is because maybe you've been serving them for a while, I would still ask you to go through this process. It's going to be a lot easier, but this process is actually going to help you really dig into who your audience is and what they're all about. And to be honest, what matters to them. Okay, so the key thing here, before I get into this, I have to say this. You have to start thinking about your audience as one person instead of a group of people. Okay, what most people want to do is they want to serve everybody. They want everybody out there. But what most people don't realize is you only get to be a massively popular brand by starting with serving one audience. So the example that I give is with my iPhone. With my iPhone, a lot of people think, hey, tons of people have iPhones. Apple was going after everybody. And that's just not the case. When Apple first started, there was a very specific group of people that the iPhone was marketed to. It was sort of the early adopters, the tech-savvy group. It was, to be real honest, it was the people that were iPod users. Okay, so before the iPhone was the iPod, that was marketed to a very specific group of people that were into certain kinds of music and wanted to carry it with them. And that's how they started. It wasn't this mass thing. But because they marketed just to this small group of people, those small group of people helped them spread it far and wide. But most people think, well, Apple's customers are everybody with the pulse that can use a phone. That's just not the case. So if you think your business is everybody with the pulse or everybody that has this certain problem, no, you have to go and break it down into one specific group. And the cool thing is if you hit that group and you nail that group and they buy your stuff, it's going to spread far and wide past that group because that group's going to share the solution, but you got to start with one key thing. So as we get started, I want you to think about this process of, hey, I'm trying to sell to one person, okay? This person is 35 years old, they're female, they have 4 kids, you get the idea. But let's dive in, let's get started, and let me show you how I do this every time. I have this thing down to a science at this point, and this one thing I'm about to show you should help you in any business you go in, no matter what, and you will be ahead of most people out there. Okay, so this particular section is broken into 3 parts. Section 1 is what I call the core creation formula. Insanely valuable document that I'm going to give you. There should be a download below, but don't download it yet. There is a download below where you can go through this. I'm going to go through it and sort of break this down for you so you know what it is. Section 2 is what we call the new audience breakdown. Now, this, just keep in mind, you only have to do the new audience breakdown once. Once you do that, you pretty much have a good idea who you're serving, what's important to them, and then you can really just kind of go off the cuff from there because you'll have a deep understanding of who they are. But it's a lot of research the first time. I say a lot of research. I usually do it in 20 minutes to an hour. But there you go. After that, we have section 3, which is what I call the new product breakdown. Every time you create a new product, you want to do this. Okay, so first things first, let's dive into this thing called the core creation formula. Okay, now this is a guide that I put together a little while back, and it's the core of how I attack a market and get to the heart of what a group of potential customers want. Okay, so by answering the questions in this guide, you're going to be able to understand what your audience wants, how you fit into that whole story, because that's important, and how your product actually fits into that whole story. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you basically how this whole thing works, this core creation formula. You can download it, like I said below. And once I show you how this thing sort of works, you're going to get a good idea of why it's so stinking important. Okay, so let's take a look at it. The core creation formula. The core creation formula is basically this. It is what we call your audience core, your core, and your product core. Now, your audience is who you're serving. This is who you're trying to sell stuff to. Your core is going to be why you got into this in the first place. What is your story? And how does that relate to your audience? And well, how does it relate to your product? Finally, your product core is how your product serves the audience, how it relates to you, and core creation formula overall is how those 3 things come together. Now, the first 2 sections, the audience core and the your core, these need to be completed one time. Okay, so once you fill those out, you should never have to fill them out again unless you go into a new industry that has nothing to do with the industry you're in right now. The product core, which is section number 3 of this, is going to be something you need to fill out every time you create a new product. Now, once you get into this, you won't have to fill out the product core stuff because you'll be asking those questions in your head anyway. But this is always a good document to come back to if something isn't working, because it will get you back on the right track. Okay? So we're doing this, just so you know, we're doing this process so that you absolutely know before you go create anything who you're talking to and what their problems are. Okay, so after I go through this, I'm going to get into the stuff that shows you how to fill it out. But first, let's get started. Let's dive in. So part 1 is your audience core. These are just questions that you need to answer yourself so that you know who you're serving and why. Okay, so who are they? What's their age? Now, I'm going to show you how to get a range, but really you need to just try to nail it down. So not 25 through 34. You need to say, my ideal customer is probably about 30 years old. Okay, so nail that down, and I want you to attack this like you're talking to one person. Okay, trust me. If that seems odd and you've marketed to the masses before, trust me when I say if you do it to just one person, you're going to be very specific with what you write, very specific with who you're writing to and how you market it, but you're going to get a lot of the other folks too. But also, it's going to be easier for people to refer back to your product and refer their friends there because it's very focused on one ideal person. So are they male or female? How much money do they make per year? What's their job? That's a big deal. Hey, what's their level of education? Do they have kids? That's a huge thing. If they do, how old are their kids? That's going to really affect a lot of things. So what's their end goal? This is the next thing that we have to go into. Right now, my ideal customer wants to be, do they want to be a millionaire? Do they want to be pain-free in their lower back? They want to be a pro golfer. What's the thing that they really want as it relates to what you're attacking? Okay, and this is not easy. You have to really dig into this, and you want to be specific as possible. So after that, number 7, what's stopping them from achieving number 7? What about their personal life is stopping them? All right. What is it that's keeping them from that in their personal life? What about their education or experience level is stopping them? What about their financial situation is stopping them from achieving this goal? What about their emotional situation is stopping them? Answer those questions. As tough as it may be, you're going to get some deep insights as to how this product should be structured, this little instruction manual, when you know this stuff. Okay. Finally, how does not being able to achieve that goal, the thing that they want, affect them? How does this problem affect their personal life? Is it causing problems between them and their spouse? Is it causing problems between them and their friends? How does it affect them financially? Are they not making as much money because of this problem? How long has this problem been going on? Finally, what other solutions have they probably tried to solve this problem? Finally, what would their life be like if they were able to solve this problem? What would it be? What would be the ideal scenario? Okay, so here's some stuff that's going to help you answer all of those questions, okay? Write down a list of who they already trust. Now, please keep this in mind because it's not really written anywhere on the page, but this is how you do that. Think about what are the magazines they read? What are the celebrities that they follow that have solved this problem already? What are the publications, the magazines, the blogs? Write those things down and be as specific as possible. Try to get 5 or 10 in there, okay? That's the key, all right? So fill this out. It's not super important right now, but in regards to that particular problem that you just filled out, what are 5 things that they should know that would help them reach a solution? So what are some other things that they would know? Now, this is really just getting all around the problem so you can do this. Now, some of you right now will absolutely know how to answer these questions pretty much out of the gate. But if you don't know how to do this, then we're going to go through some things in a minute, and reading this stuff and going through this stuff is going to help you answer it, okay? So that is part 1, which is the audience core. Now, after you go through the audience core, you need to start answering some questions about yourself, okay? Now, the idea behind these questions is to establish that you are a real person who's gone through this problem before, or a real person who has some weird thing, you figured it out. So this first part establishes your humanity, that you're a real person. You're not Superman who was just born with alien powers to solve this problem, but you were just once like them, a mere mortal. After that, you're going to establish expert positioning. So the questions are, what struggles did you have before you became the expert? And then what goals were you trying to achieve? What obstacles were in your way before you achieved it? After that, what specific goal did you achieve? How did you achieve that goal? What resources helped you achieve that goal? Were there family, friends, mentors? What was it? And why are you giving this solution to them? Why do you want to do that? Did you just want to make the world a better place? And there you go. Now, these first 2 parts you have to answer once. This last thing, every new product, okay? So this is the one that you have to do. And once you get these answered, you're pretty much good because your industry is probably going to stay about the same there. Okay, so part 3. How does the product that you are creating solve the problems that you talked about before? Okay, or does it solve a new problem in there that's related? How does your product better than the alternatives? List the key features and benefits of your product. This gets easier, by the way, as we go through the process and I show you the things I'm about to show you. How has your product helped others? Do you have testimonials? Did this method work for someone before you wrote it down in an instruction manual? What would it cost your audience if they didn't use your solution? Time, money, health, what would it be? And then what are some other things you could offer your audience later that were possibly related to this product? And then that's pretty much it. So the idea behind this is that once you fill this out, you're going to have a very good understanding of who your audience is. Now, in the next video, we're going to go through the next part of this. So in the next video, we're going to start talking about the new audience breakdown. I will see you in the next video where we're going to start filling out that core creation module with the things you see in your screen right now.